African Union has also spoken about this whole U.S. invasion of Venezuela, and I think that a lot of people are hitting on the AU for coming up to say this, and it's more or less like, you are talking when it's not necessary, and when it's necessary for you to talk, you don't talk. But this issue has got nothing to do with Africa, so why is African Union trying to involve themselves in an issue, or in an issue that has got nothing to do with Africa? I mean, let's fight our own battles and let's cry our own cry and think about ourselves. Now we are going to put a screenshot, or let's say a press release, of what the African Union dropped out or released after the invasion of US in Venezuela, and has got a lot of people talking and sharing their views and opinion on it, and some even hitting so hard on the African Union for being so biased at some point, because they feel like when African Union need to act, they don't act, and when they are not supposed to act, that is when they act. But Chris, I'm sure you've gone through the release before we read it. I'm sure you've gone through the release and you've seen some of the things that were written by the African Union. Is this something that needs people or Africans to hit on the African Union?
Yes, I mean, yes, there has been some kind of a backlash on the AU. Because of the release that they brought, condemning the actions of the United States and calling for the release of President Maduro. President Donald Trump's invasion into Venezuela, they were condemning it, and people are talking about the fact that there were much pressing issues in Africa that they were supposed to talk about. They were mute. They never said anything about it, but now they found their feet and their mouth, their pens and their writing.
Okay, so as we can see on the screen, it says the African Union is getting cooked for this statement on Venezuela. So let's come down. It says the African Union is following with grave concern the recent development in Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, including report of the abduction of President of the Republic, Nicolas Maduro, and military attacks on Venezuelan institutions. The African Union reaffirms its steadfast commitment to fundamental principles of international law, including respect for the sovereignty of states, their territorial integrity, and the right of people to self-determination as enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations. The African Union underscores the importance of dialogue, peaceful settlement of dispute, and respect for constitutional and institutional frameworks in a spirit of good neighborliness, cooperation, and peaceful coexistence among nations. The African Union emphasizes that the complex internal challenges facing Venezuela can only be sustainably addressed through inclusive political dialogue among Venezuelans themselves. The African Union expresses its solidarity with the Venezuelan people and reiterates its commitment to the promotion of peace, stability, and mutual respect among nations and regions. The African Union calls upon all parties concerned to exercise restraint, responsibility, and respect for international law to prevent any escalation and to preserve regional peace and stability. So I think this is what the African Union came out to say, and people are hitting so hard, and I mean the backlash is very loud, very, very loud, and you could see that people are so much pissed and angry for this release coming from them. What are some of the reasons that is causing all these people to talk so bitterly about the African Union?
Yes, a lot of things were going on in Africa here that they felt like the AU could have come in to resolve some of these things.
Okay.
They could have come in to talk about it and make sure that some of these things are curtailed. Let's take it like when the United States wanted to topple Gaddafi. We'll come to that, but let's look here. This is Mange Kimambi. So she's an activist in Tanzania. Okay. She also wrote why she's also backlashing the AU, talking about the fact that hundreds of people, 10,000 people in Tanzania died. Okay. Let's go through what Mange Kimambi wrote. She said, "Look at these stupid fools." Hey, Charlie. Anyway, over 10,000 Africans were murdered in Tanzania by their own government. 2 months later, the AU has failed to do anything but see how quick they are jumping on matters that don't concern Africa. This makes me so angry. Not once did the AU call the situation in Tanzania of grave concern, but a brutal dictator finally getting justice is of grave concern to them.
Okay.
You have failed Africans. Let Trump help us, since you all are, in quote,
useless.
All useless. So that's what she's saying. If you continue to not do your jobs, we will designate the United States as the official body for selling African matters, since they have the guts to actually do what needs to be done to liberate citizens from brutal authoritarian governments. She says she's joking, but she's not joking. Okay. She's serious with what she wrote. Okay. So yes, first of all, I was talking about Gaddafi, but then let's look at this. When a lot of things happened in Tanzania recently, the AU were mute. I mean, did we do any updates on AU condemning what is going on in Tanzania? No, we didn't do anything of such. And I don't think any release like what we have currently were released by the African Union. But then they have mouth to talk about something that they feel doesn't concern Africa. Okay, in some way, somehow, it concerns Africa. But then...
It's not direct concern.
Yes, it's not direct concern. When we needed them, we didn't get them because people were dying. Just because someone wants to become president, people were dying. Even if it is one soul, it is not good. But then look at this one. This one, no one is here to even die. But look at how quick they are. Are those 2 lives more important than the 10,000 people that died in Tanzania? That is the kind of questions Africans are trying to ask the African Union.
Okay. Now, with what you just mentioned about African Union not dealing with matters within their jurisdiction, but rather looking outside the box. Recently, we saw Ghana and one of the African nations also having a banter where Minister of Foreign Affairs Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa had to call in, and then deportations and all that had to come in. Did we see African Union intervene or speak about what is happening? Let's have a peaceful coherence among Ghana and the country.
I don't think so. You know, some of these things, these diplomatic talks mostly will happen between these 2 countries. Okay. Do you understand?
So they don't need to involve themselves.
Yes, actually, they don't need to involve themselves. But some of these general things, you see, if it is a country, if it is a state and its presidency, its governing bodies, they can deal directly with the AU, because look at what was actually happening in Tanzania. The only country, the only body that could have intervened was the AU. Okay. Do you understand? Okay. But with the deportation staffs and all that, it is just your foreign affairs to foreign affairs. The countries would deliberate, they would dialogue, diplomatic talks, and then everything will be solved. But then some of these things, like I was talking about what happened in Libya. As at that time, the only person that was able to move to Libya was the South African president. I don't know, I've forgotten who was. I got the name. As at that time, the South African president moved his troops to Libya. And they were in the Libyan airspace for some time. Okay. Until the AU told the South African president that if anything happens, you're on your own. Okay. Because the AU is not trying to stop what the United States is coming to do in Libya. Okay. But now, something has happened in it's not different countries, a totally different continent.
Yeah.
But they have, so the moment South Africa moved away from Libya, that is when they captured Gaddafi. And they toppled the government, and now we all see the repercussions of that action. So some of these things, we needed the AU to come in and then settle some of these things for the people of Africa. Do you understand? But then we don't see them. And see, this particular one that they've brought a long write-up trying to condemn it. And all that. When it was in your own soil that you could have, handled it physically, you could have handled it with actions. You couldn't. This place is only your paper that is going. Mm-hmm. It's only your write-up that people will just read. They were saying some of these things that the presidents are saying will not have any effect on the moves of United States of America. And yes, indeed, it won't have any effect. They are done. The next move, the next move is ongoing. So, yeah, people are calling for the heads of the AU.
Okay, so that is all about the African Union issue. As we speak, a lot of people are displeased with the initiative taken by the AU, trying to come out to show so much concern about an issue that is even off limit. When I talk about off limit, I'm talking about the fact that the issue isn't even within the African continent, but rather the United States, and it has brought out a lot of calls and people condemning this particular act of the African Union. Now,